Good morning, Becky. Thank you for
Good morning.
joining us with this Many Hands interview. I'm Leslie. For those of you who don't know me, I work at Many Hands. I've been there. This will be my fourth season, I think. And I believe Becky's been there longer than I have as a shareholder. So exactly how long have you been purchasing from Many Hands?
I was trying to remember 13 or 14 years, something around
Wow.
that.
Wow. What brought you there?
Um, I had actually, back before I moved to the Worcester area many years ago, I moved here in 2000. Before that, I lived in the Boston area and I had been a member of a CSA that was located out this way, but I had enjoyed being a member of a CSA for a few years before I moved out here. And I hadn't joined one, but then a friend back in I want to say when my oldest, who started middle school, so that would have been around 2010, 2011, found out about Many Hands and asked if I'd be interested in sharing a share with her just to try it out. And so I did for a couple years. When she moved away in 2012, I just took on a share on my own at that point, and I started getting a large share for many years. And only the last couple of years did I switch to a medium because I no longer have children at home, and a medium is is size right for just my husband and myself.
Can you tell us how that worked with kids at home? I know a lot of our shareholders don't have children at home. And sometimes you hear back from people, oh, well, my kids won't eat that stuff. And they're not, open to it and are more of, I see like I didn't
Mhm.
start doing a CSA until my kids were out of the house, but I didn't even know they existed before then. So and a neighbor was doing a CSA and she went on vacation and said, want my extra vegetables. And I was like, okay.
Mhm.
And that kind of is what got me into it. And I'm like, oh, I got to learn how to cook with some things I don't normally cook with. And anyway, so I think
So
sometimes,
that's what I find. That's what I find fun is, I grew up in New Jersey in an area of the state where there was a lot of farming. I mean, New Jersey is the garden state, but there actually were a lot of farms not terribly far from where I grew up. And so a common thing that my husband and my friends and I would do on the weekends is just to go and pick your own. We'd go to local farms and that would also pick your own. Um, and so since I became an adult, I was always interested in local seasonal produce. I like to cook. It's one of my hobbies. So I enjoy the surprise of getting
Mhm.
whatever's in the bag and learning about it and learning to cook it. And I have to say, I haven't always enjoyed everything or been familiar with everything in my bag. So I've had to look things up. It took me a number of years to start liking kale. That's really only been in the last handful of years that I've eaten the kale and not just chopped it up and thrown it into soup. And now I'm a huge proponent of like I have kale every day in a salad, um, which I would never have purchased on my own or
Mhm.
charged for that matter. I'd never had that growing up. And but in terms of answering your question about my kids, my husband and I were always interested in fresh local seasonal produce, and so it was just not some like my kids from the time they were little were eating whatever whatever
Whatever you
we
put.
ate, or
Mhm.
I would find ways to cook it that I don't want to say hiding it, but like my younger son's very picky with vegetables, but he loves spinach. So it's not a far stretch if I cook chard or I cook collards in the same way that I would cook spinach, then it's not really different from what he would normally eat anyway. So I would just cook my vegetables in the things that he would normally eat and got him to try it that way.
And I was lucky. My kids were good vegetable eaters, even though I didn't do a CSA. I have a funny story with the vegetables. I think I roasted some cauliflower and there was one piece
Hmm.
left on the pan and I had children fighting over it. And I looked at my husband and I said, there's something wrong with this picture. Our children are not normal. And I
But see,
never
my kids
forgot.
are adults now. That's very funny.
Yeah, mine
My
are
kids are
too.
adults. And my oldest one has been a vegetarian since the middle of college. So that's, for the last 6 years or so, he's been a
Mhm.
vegetarian. So, and he himself, the last year, joined his own CSA. He lives in Cambridge, and he joined one with his girlfriend. And
Oh, that's
so,
awesome.
we compare produce, we compare recipes.
That's fun. Um, what keeps you coming back year after year versus, looking for another CSA or
um, I like the quality. Generally, the quality is excellent. I My husband and I are big salad eaters. We eat a lot of greens. Many hands tends to be very greens heavy,
yes, we
so
are.
that works for our lifestyle. Um, and I like the variety. Generally, there's a really good variety. And I see year to year things change depending on what kind of season we're having,
Mhm.
what's going on in the world. But I've generally been happy with the types of things, the variety of things, the quantity has all made sense to me.
How is Mini Hands CSA distinctive from other CSAs? Because you've obviously have done other one. You did another one
Mm-hmm.
before.
Yep. Um, as I said, they're very greens heavy. So I like that we're always getting a couple heads, even as a medium share. I'm always getting a couple heads of lettuce in my share. I'm always getting chard or kale or collard or some kind of greens that I like to cook with. Um, I also really like that in the last handful of years they've taken on supporting the Worcester community fridges,
Hmm.
um, which I hadn't seen in other CSAs supporting the community in that way. So I really appreciate that as well.
Why choose a CSA when choice is less than at like Whole Foods or a farmer's market? In other words, you don't get to choose exactly what you want.
I like the surprise and the challenge. I like um, seeing what's really in season. And the
Hmm.
farmers market, I mean, I do supplement by going to, we have a farmers market here in Holden. So I do during the summer when that's in session, I do go and supplement and that's actually part of the reason I get my share on Fridays. Our farmers market is on Tuesdays, so I can see what I've gotten on Friday and go on Tuesday and supplement a little bit. But I do like this is what we were able to grow this
Hmm.
week and or this year, and I like the challenge and the surprise of what I get and having to figure out something fun to cook with it.
Do you do any preservation to save it for the use in the winter?
I used to when I was younger, and maybe I'll get back to that now that I don't have kids at home. When before I had kids, I did. I used to buy extra from the CSA I was in the Boston area, and I would preserve a lot of greens, a lot of herbs. I don't I don't do that so much anymore. Um, Mostly I preserve like fruits,
Hmm.
um, but we tend to just eat most of it.
Uh-huh. It is. I mean, it's more work, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I think I got two fall shares one year to try and like preserve it all, and I'm glad I did it, but I didn't do it again the next year. Um, but it is
It
nice
is
to
a
have
lot of
everything
work, and that's
and I didn't also have the freezer space at the time. Now I do, so I could.
right.
Um,
I really don't have the freezer space. I freeze a lot I have a raspberry patch at home, and so I freeze probably between 5 and 10 pounds of raspberries every year, which is several big bags full. And I just don't have
the
I don't have an
space.
extra freezer, so
Yeah.
I don't have a ton of freezer space. But I do take the apples and I'll make applesauce so it
Mhm.
lasts longer. And but we tend to eat that even if I freeze it, we tend to eat it fairly quickly after I've made it over the
Mhm.
next few weeks.
How important is our focus on fertility, diversity, and carbon sequestration to you?
Well, climate change is an important issue that's facing the world. I don't think it gets enough attention. So I do appreciate the what Many Hands does to try and address a growing problem.
Hmm. Um, do you think there's a clear quality difference with mini hands food?
relative to a grocery store for sure.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily, I mean, when I go to a farmer's market, I feel like oftentimes that quality is also equally good. But, when I compare to a grocery store, for example, I don't buy tomatoes except except when I get them from the CSA or from a farmer's market, and they don't even taste the same.
Yeah.
So, I think the quality is quite good compared to a grocery store in general.
Do you ever go to Whole Foods, or is that too far out of your
I
distance?
don't tend to go. First of all, it's very expensive, and it's
Mhm.
it's not near my house, so I
Right.
don't tend to go. Yeah,
I mean, I live in Shrewsbury and it's right there, so that's always been my
right.
comparison point. Although it wasn't always right there, it's only, been the last few
Hmm.
years. Um, Anything else that you'd like to share about the farm that, what are your favorite vegetables or fruits? Like,
So I really, one of the things I love that they offer a fall share, that after the farmers market's closed, after everything else is really kind of shutting down, I'm getting another 4 weeks of and I love winter produce. I didn't grow up eating the items. I don't know. In my house, my mother never cooked with the winter squashes and
really?
any of the things that are common up here in New England, and we love all the winter and fall produce. So, I love getting all the winter squashes and the leeks and beets and those things that they last for a number of weeks.
I
Um,
still have carrots
so
in my
that to me,
fridge.
that's distinctive.
The root vegetables really do last a long time. Um,
We just tend to eat them.
yeah.
We
Have you
really
ever
like
come
them
and
so much.
have you ever come and volunteered at the farm?
I have not.
That's
I have
that's an
not.
in-
It
I
is
like
something
I
that
would
I've thought about, and maybe when I retire, it's
I mean
hard
it's
because I work full time.
right. We have a lot of people who do work full time, and we've had people who come just once. I mean, you could come, you don't have
Hmm.
to commit. You could come once if you wanted just to see how the operation works. It's a very open community. That's what brings a lot of people there too, is just the whole community
Hmm.
aspect of it. See how, I mean, come on a day we do the Worcester fridges loading and see how that happens.
Yep.
It's an interesting, I would love if everybody, I think it would be a cool thing if everybody that joins comes once, um,
Uh huh.
just to see how
I would
it
definitely
would
consider it.
operate. Yeah. You don't have to be a full-time, we don't want all working shareholders. We do want some people who just pay. Um, but I think that would be a cool thing. Maybe because I like to see how things operate, and the whole
Hmm.
know your farmer and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Do you ever buy any meat from us at all or any other products?
Uh, I don't think I have. I don't think I have.
Do you eat meat?
I do eat meat. Well, I eat poultry. I'm not a red meat
Me
eater
either.
generally.
Our chickens are pretty amazing, if I do say so myself. But it is, that's the other thing. It's a one-time thing during the year, so if you don't have the freezer space.
Right.
But sometimes people just order
Right.
one chicken and, enjoy that, or a couple of chickens and can fit that in their
Uh
freezer.
huh.
You don't have to commit to, a half a dozen chickens or more. And it's nice because you get them the day they are butchered. They don't come
Hmm.
any fresher than that. They're organic and you can cut them up and freeze them in pieces. You don't have to eat the whole thing at once. I kind of got
It's
into
certainly
that a
something
few
I would
years ago.
consider.
Yeah. You don't do turkeys or,
No, I really, I don't. This is actually the first year I hosted Thanksgiving in
ah,
all my years.
like, yeah,
The
I
first time I
guess you got
ever,
to
I
do
mean,
the
I
turkey.
actually have cooked turkey for Passover, for example, for other holidays. I
Um,
don't, it's
and
just my husband and myself at this point.
we do have frozen peaches for sale and some of the
Hmm.
produce is available. You don't do eggs from us, do you?
I don't. My husband's not a big egg eater, so really it's just me. It would not make sense for me to be
Yeah,
on any kind of regular egg schedule.
eggs. Good thing with all the stuff you're not missing all the shortages right now or the eggs. Um, anyway, anything else? If you had a new
No,
person,
I've been. I've really enjoyed the time that I've been coming to Many Hands, and I, you know, can't recommend it enough. I really do appreciate everything that the community does, and the food is phenomenal.
Great. It's been wonderful having you. I hope we have you for another 14 or 15 years. Um, I don't think Julie's got plans to quit anytime soon. I think she'll keep doing this until, she
That's wonderful.
isn't. It's inspiring how
Yeah.
um, committed she is, how long she's been doing this, how it keeps her in amazing shape. I always say I work for this woman who's 10 years older than me and she runs circles around me. I did not
It's a
grow up.
lot of work. I mean, I at least I see from the newsletters just how much work it is to keep an
It,
operation like that running.
it is, but everybody loves doing it, so we really enjoy it. And it's
That's
great to talk
wonderful.
to shareholders who appreciate what they're getting and how wonderful, what we have is. Well, I will let you go. Thank you very much for taking the time from your busy full-time work schedule. And I'm going to stop the recording now.